Hello and welcome to our Wednesday night show. You can see that I just came from the weekly business session. I haven't even taken off my tie yet, and I'm joined by Mike, who has taken his tie off. Hello, Mike.
Yes, I just took my tie off. You just missed it. Darn it.
Okay. All right. So I was at the weekly business session, and you didn't have to be there, and aren't you lucky? Okay. So
Yes, I am. I
so
was
many.
there in a manner of speaking.
Yes, he was there in spirit, but I meant everybody else, of course, that didn't have to go to the weekly business session. However, we did point out, because if you are on our non-commercial list of people who get news alerts, we told you that tonight only, this is the first time in a bit of since the 20th that people were allowed to go to the Anbasker and say their opinion, pro or con, about the levy because of some strange new rule in Salem. Let's see, get that off of there. Some strange new rule in Salem that says that you can do it once the clerk's office closes. And so, since this one's 5:30, the only time of the month that the show is in the evening, people could go, and I sent out a general alert. If you want to come and influence this election at the last moment, come on up and say your opinion, even, folks, even if you're just saying, I agree with that guy, and then you sit down. I agree with that guy. You could give us a hand with your logic at the weekly business session. You could do that. You could. I have faith in you that you could do that. Mike, is my faith well placed?
Not anymore.
Well,
It's
not
done
now.
Well, yeah, a number of people did come up and advocate against voting for the levy.
They did do exactly that, and I was proud of them. And some of the people that showed up were from the mining community. That's still happening. Yes, that's still happening. And they were basically saying things like, where's the dang sheriff? There are some things in the charter. We're going to be talking about that on Sunday. And we had a nice talk today with Wally Hicks about all this. And I brought up, you're not going to believe what I brought up. I brought up the fact that the levy is, everybody says it depends on trust. Cuffs, Community United for Safety, they say it depends on trust. And so I asked the commissioners, I said, now why do you think that the levy supporters, the levy pushers, don't want your endorsement as county commissioners? Why would they not want? Mike, could you please explain to the audience why anyone who's in favor of getting something done and passed in this county would not want the county commissioners say that they were in favor of it?
I have no idea. I guess
Yes,
they just
you
all
do.
don't have sense of humors, and they
He's
just don't
such
like
a
these
liar.
people.
He knows why. Tell him why. Mike, we're holding
Well,
your
it's
fire.
you're holding my feet to the fire. Yes, ouch, that hurts. Well, it's just generally accepted that the commissioners are not trusted. That's why.
Well, it's not. It's
I
not
know
accepted
that's
by
very
you.
exciting, but
Yes. Okay. All right. That wasn't a very exciting way to put it. Can you say it in an alternate version that's much more emphatic?
no. As a matter of fact, I really don't feel like it right now.
Oh, poor Mike.
I
Okay.
hate
All
to
right.
say, I'm just not in a mood to entertain by embellishment.
Embellishment. No. It's another
Yes.
lie. It's not embellishment. Well, anyway, so what I did is I said to him,
No. Embellishing is just dressing it up with drama in this particular case, and I
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was doing
don't
by
feel the
taking off
need to
my
do
tie right in front of you. However, I did just walk in the door. Okay, I really did. Okay, so
and boy, are his arms tired.
yeah, I just flew in for they know that. This is
Yes.
flying in, this is typing, this is playing the piano. You guys know that. So one of the things we want to be sure to remind you of here at the beginning of the show, almost at the beginning of the show, see, we're going to go back to the weekly business session. You'll see. One of the things we want to be sure to remind you is over here, we have our long list of the library of videos from the past. We have now, in 2 years only, over 1,000 videos. And as I pointed out to the commissioners, more than half of these, all the videos basically are about the commissioners. And goofy things happen in a county. more than half of the videos, a little more than half of them, are just the commissioners talking. It's not me pontificating, and certainly isn't Mike. It's the commissioners. And you don't need any embellishment. You certainly don't need any explanation. When you see them talking with some guy that says, well, last minute here, I'd like to change my contract to read that it doesn't matter whether I do the job or not, you're still going to pay me. What? Okay, and when you see that, you go, they should never negotiate a contract again, and they never will in front of you ever again.
Yes, that's true.
Or when they're agreeing, it sure makes sense to me to spend economic development. This economic development is an important issue in our county, right? I mean, it affects crime, it affects the mood, it makes Mike feel more like speaking. Economic development. So when they tell you that 90 jobs are going to be created from a plaque on a rock, then nobody needs to tell you what to think about that. You're going to look at that and go, what lunkheads?
Well,
Yeah.
and when I heard, workforce consortium, I just thought, yes, that's what we need, a workforce consortium, because, you dress it up with a little bit of flowery language, and that makes it totally different from the Jobs Council or whatever it was last week.
Yeah, what is it about this Jobs Council thing? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about that. We did at a previous meeting, but in case you missed it, why would you miss one of our shows? I mean, this is required watching for all high school students. One of the things about that is Jim Fong was there to talk about the Job Council. Well, is it true, Mr. Fong, that the Job Council is going away? They know that it is. Well, not actually. Not actually. What the heck is this guy talking about? The commissioners know it's going away. So what is he talking about? Well, it's just a restructuring. Yeah. Well, see, they were set up with the idea, Job Council. What does that sound like they try to do? Oh, maybe help people find jobs. So when you ask them, Jim Fong, you seem like a reasonable guy and you're bringing in, boatloads of money in for your group, which I think is the main purpose of the group, to bring in boatloads of money. But your job, as I understand it, is to help people find jobs, not to give them the jobs, to help people find them. How's that going? Doesn't that seem like a reasonable question? How's it going? What are the metrics? They don't have any metrics.
Yes, that seems like a logical question. I mean, I may not seem too very excited about this because we've been talking about this for a long time, and so I really don't have a whole lot more to say on that, except for the fact it's clear that Jobs Council was a name that made it seem too much like they actually do something. And so Workforce Consortium, oh, there you go. There's, that fits what we do, and basically, in a nutshell, I'll just sum this up for you. We don't do anything. We have a very important sounding name, and we get a lot of government grant money, and that's what we do.
Well, there's work, there's force, there's consortium, whatever that means, and that just sounds lovely.
Yes, and together it all means pizza.
Yeah. Well, Jobs Council
or whatever.
It keeps bringing up these questions. Jobs Council. What does that mean? Does it mean you help find jobs? Oh no, that's not what it means. We don't have that information, Mr. Matthews. How the heck can you not have that information? It's like Mike not having a lower third under him that says Wednesday. I mean, how's that possible?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you why it's possible, because this stupid thing wouldn't let me download it before the program, so that's why. But in a nutshell, to sum all of this up for you, all of this economic development, this whole industry of economic development has come up because of the fact that when we instituted the lottery, some of those funds were to go to economic development, and so sprung up all these little agencies that suck up that money when it comes back down. That's what it is in a nutshell.
I think you're really right, Mike.
You can tune out now. You can tune out now. You know everything that you need to know about jobs councils, workforce consortiums, and whatever else they want to call themselves. It's all got a 2-letter acronym, BS.
Wow. That's very well said, Mike, and I think you're 100% correct. Or, as they
Yes.
would say at Cuffs, you're 18,000 views correct.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yes, but that's actually doesn't carry credibility when they say that.
No,
So.
it doesn't carry any credibility at all. So that came up too. I brought it up at today's meeting. So, but just before we talk more about the weekly business session, which is fascinating, really, I know that you're all fascinated. I
Oh,
want to remind
yes.
you of something, and that is, okay, this is what we do. Don't forget, coming up on Tuesday night, Two Goons in the Corner,
Yes.
we're going to be across the street from the courthouse where Art Harvey, the infamous Art Harvey, will be announcing the election results on Tuesday night. That's a little less than a week from now. And we'll be at Republican headquarters. Republican headquarters? How the heck did that happen? I'm not a Republican. Mike's not a Republican, but they are welcoming us. They're welcoming us with open arms.
Yes. Yes, and they have a venue where we can do the show. They have Wi-Fi where we can put the show out onto the internet, and they have, they're going to supply us with a cheering section.
Yeah, it's going to be made up mostly of grandmothers in tight skirts.
Yeah, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, or well, not grandfathers, and anyway. So,
Yes.
This will be the first place if you're interested in cutting edge news. Or maybe bleeding edge news, depending on how the vote goes. We will be right there, and we'll tell you the instant that anybody knows, except for Art Harvey.
That's right.
And of course, he knew what the election results were about 5 weeks ago. I'm making that up.
No.
Yeah, I'm making that up.
I hope you're making that up.
Yeah, well, I don't trust the guy, but okay, so probably somebody does. Oh, I know. Cheryl Walker trusts the guy. Yeah, she does, because look how it happened in her recall campaign. He was instrumental. So anyway, so don't forget to come and see us here live. If you're not going to go down to Republican headquarters, come and see us. We will be announcing it before anybody else because we're going to be announcing it instantaneously. Well,
yes, that's right.
No one else. No, wait a minute. There's a very tiny delay. Very tiny. How long is that delay between the time that we announce it and people can hear it? How many milliseconds?
Oh, yeah. It's like, I would say that there's probably at a max like 5 seconds at a very maximum, because there is some encoding and stuff that probably happens once our signal gets to Google and before it gets out. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very short. It's very short.
Well,
it could be even less than a tenth of a second, really. I mean, it could be anywhere between that and 5 seconds.
Can't we speed that up any? So, a tenth of a second goes by.
Right. Yes. But since no one else is going to be relating it that quickly, I think we'll still be beating the competition.
Well, given their record of covering the news, you could count on the Courier telling you about this, half a month later? Isn't that basically what they've been doing?
Weeks.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yes.
I mean, this thing about the ministers, I mean, they didn't announce that till 2 weeks after we told you.
Yes, and then they announced it like, hey, no one has ever said anything about this before.
That's correct. Yes, they did. Okay, so it's also likely that you won't see it on TV, especially since it happens at 8 o'clock, and the TV will tell you 3 hours later. So if you are interested in this subject, you might potentially talk about the item over my shoulder.
And that's a pie chart. What is that pie chart?
Thank you so much. Without prompting, he even brought it up. This is a pie.
It's because I can't see what it is. Otherwise, I would just go, oh, that's very interesting.
Well, it is a pie chart. You got that right. Okay, yes. So this is a pie chart called the universe, actually. See, I was trying to look up this, some references to dark numbers. Remember how the sheriff says there's dark numbers and you just account for those dark numbers. Right. So I typed in dark numbers and I brought up this pie chart about the universe, and the big blue part here says dark energy and the red part says dark matter, and the green part says known matter. Go ahead.
Wow. Yes. So by that, it looks like 3/4 of the universe is dark energy, and then you have what you said, dark matter, and then known matter is the smallest number. So by that, I'm guessing that I can determine that the numbers of unreported crime in the county have gone up.
Yes, you can. You can extrapolate that because it's only a matter of perception. You see, what this translates into locally is the dark numbers of unreported crime is the blue part. The red part is it doesn't matter. That's the dark matter. Doesn't matter. And then
yes,
it's comedy and news. Come on, you guys. And
the rest is reported crime. So I mean, by this chart. By this chart, crime is like, I mean, imagine a graph with a vertical line like that.
Well, what you may not know is that this chart is directly connected to something called weakly interactive particles, or they also call it weakly interactive massive particles, or true physics term, WIMP. Now, speaking of WIMP, back to the county commissioners. So
we have skyrocketing crime because we're all too wimpy.
Well, somebody is. Yes, somebody is. Oh, by the way, speaking of skyrocketing crime, so SOS recently put out a video. You know, you really need to be thinking about the crime rate in Cave Junction. Now, we know lots of people in Cave Junction who are going to be voting against this levy, and they say, what the heck are these guys talking about? In the video, they show a guy with beer, a box of beer on his shoulder, and this is a good indicator of the skyrocketing crime rate in Cave Junction. Yeah. What's this guy's up to no good with the box of beer? I wonder if he's going to drink it all in the next hour all by himself. He's probably not going to a party. This is not a celebration of life. This is a guy about to commit crimes, and he's got to get tanked up first. Okay, so one of the questions that we don't have enough law enforcement in Cave Junction. Now, let's think about it. I may not have the numbers perfectly right. So I'm telling you ahead of time, unlike the other side who claims that they do, I know that I don't. Okay, but let's suppose that there are, hold on a second. The camera's going to go to me anyway, so I might as well do this. Every time I do that, the camera goes to me. Okay, so, all right. Let's suppose there's 1,000 people in the city of Cave Junction. They've got a deputy that's dedicated to nobody but them. Now, that's one deputy for 1,000 people. How many people are in Josephine County? About 80,000. Well, if that was the number and that wasn't enough, we'd need 80 deputies, right? 1 per 1,000. You mean to tell me that one deputy can't take care of 1,000 people? Really? Well, then they're not savable. Ooh, you got a phone call.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
Okay. So one deputy cannot take care of 1,000 people? Really? Well, if it's one deputy, as we've seen in previous testimony, because we go, you see, I don't know, you guys don't, but we do. We go to the Cave Junction City Council meetings. And the guy's getting up. He says, this drug dealer guy that you're looking for, he's right there. I see him out my window. This is Dan Mancuso, the editor of the newspaper there. The guy that said, well, never mind what he said. He says he didn't say it, but that's a lie. So anyway, he says, well, it's right outside my window, and you could come and get him anytime. Well, I see him almost every day. The sheriff actually went to that meeting. He says, well, all that you need to do is, he says, I tell you what, Sheriff, why don't you come over to, this is beautiful, Justice, is so perfect. He says, why don't you come over to my office and you can sit there and watch it? Sheriff says, well, of course I will. Kind of big harumph. This was the previous sheriff. Well, yes, I'll be there. And he's thinking, yeah, I'm going to show up. And he's there for a few minutes and the guy goes by his window. What perfect justice. In 2 ways. The sheriff went down and got the guy. Well, every once in a while, the citizens are telling you the truth. You are not the supreme authorities of the universe. So that one deputy couldn't find this guy to save his soul. All you need to do is look out the damn window.
Well, and in many cases, we only have, 2 deputies on duty in the county. So that's a county of 85,000 people with the 2 deputies on duty. And there has been times when there's only 1 on duty in the county. So,
Oh, wait, don't tell anybody this because the thieves don't
yeah,
go.
well, no. So I'm wondering, I'm not immovable by someone's story, and they, have some story about the guy who owns the Taylor Sausage Company down there and says that, he's having problems and they're not getting response or whatever, and he's being harassed by criminals. Well, how come the deputy? What is the deputy that's on duty down in Cave Junction? What is he doing? Does he come out? Does he respond to some of
1,000
these?
people to watch over, and he can't be watching over the biggest business there. Come on now.
Well, it's right on the main drag, and literally, Cave Junction. Listen, I'm not trying to get in trouble with people that live in Cave Junction. I know that there is more to Cave Junction than what is on the main drag there, but I don't think it's too hard to keep track of what's going on the main drag.
Maybe if you
I might be missing it.
You might see it. Yeah, you can see it. You can see from one end of the town to the other. You can literally see from one end of the town to the other.
Yes, and there is one other thing about the about Cave Junction that it seems to me as though they ought to be looking into a policing district or setting up a police department there in that town so that they have somebody dedicated there. But instead, what is going on is some people in Cave Junction are advocating for a levy. So all of the people that live in areas that don't have crime, like where I live and where, probably most of the rest of the population of the county lives, they want to ding those people so that they get a little bit more. And listen, I understand they're not looking at it from that angle, but
they want everybody else to pick up their bill for them. And I can say this number again: if 1 deputy per 1,000 people is not enough, that means that 80 deputies would not be enough in this county. Really?
Yeah, and I just see, and there may be stuff about hours of that deputy that we don't know. I mean, who knows?
You stagger the hours. You don't have them work the same. Right. Everybody knows what hours the guy works, and so I'm not going to repeat them here. But so if that guy's doing it, then all it took was sitting in Dan Mancuso's office for less than an hour, and the guy breaking the laws right there. This is Cave Junction we're talking about, okay?
Right.
Look, it's not up to me to say how difficult can it be, but it's got to be a little easier than 1 deputy per 1,000 people. So what do they think they're going to get out of the levy? Why? We'll have 2 deputies. What, 1 per 500 people? That would mean we need 160 deputies in Josephine County.
No, I mean, there is an issue here that these people actually think that there is going to be an appreciable difference in the amount of policing after the levy passes. Now, right now, the neighboring county, Jackson County, has a much worse problem with crime than we do, and they are, quote, fully funded. They are funded at the level that is being proposed for our county,
and their crime rate is worse than ours.
And their crime rate is worse. So perhaps we're not dealing with a situation that can be dealt with by more police on the street. I'm not so sure about it.
Then follow the official badcounty.com theory. Can you see the joke coming? Which is the more money you spend on fighting crime, the more crime will increase. Therefore, if you spend less money, crime is going to go down. Look at what happened to us.
Yeah, it's an odd thing. And listen, everybody wants to say that these numbers are fake. They're not fake. Okay. And the crime situation may well have gone up in the past couple of years. We don't know because there isn't any numbers for that. But we do have numbers out to a certain point. And at that certain point, it had been riding along at a flat line of a 20-year low. And at that time, it was also coincidentally a 20-year low in the amount of funding that the sheriff department was getting. And they have even less now. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I was just reviewing some old footage of the previous sheriff. And this is a wonderful piece of videotape. The commissioners were having all kinds of trouble with the sheriff not following through on grants that he could have gotten. And we even got a call from a U.S. senator saying, "I will help you," and they were not following his advice. And we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because they just couldn't get it together. Okay, so we'll show you that. Oh, I love that Gil Gilbert said. Well, you know what? He blew it on this one, big time. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were lost. And we'll put up a video about it. We told you about it at the time, but we'll put it up again. Anyway, they were talking about this, and the sheriff was saying, well, he was talking about how when anybody calls in with a crime or gets reported to them anyway, this will sound familiar to those of you who buying the line, I'm sorry, it is a line from the current sheriff saying, well, when people call in, we don't count that. You mean to tell me, as the previous sheriff was saying, when people call in, it has to be logged because they will never be able to get their insurance to pay off if it's not logged in some way. So I guess the answer is in Cave Junction and most of the rest of the county, nobody has insurance or is asking for any. If their car is stolen, they don't care. I think I'm just not going to report that because I don't want to report it. What? Oh, it's too much hassle to get my money back. What?
Yes. I don't know. And you know what is interesting?
It's Wednesday now. Whoa, cool, Mike.
Yes, I saw it. Yes, well, it finally downloaded. It's a stupid thing. And here, let me just rant on Google Hangouts for a minute. Why can't I keep that app local to my machine? Here, everybody's going, he's speaking Chinese. I don't understand.
Well, app machine? What the heck is he talking about? He's ranting again, Marge.
Yes, it's a little thing that allows me to put a lower third up, and it's one of these.
What's that? What's a lower third?
Every time you use it, you have to re-download. It's so dumb. Anyway,
my favorite quote about all this is "stupid computer." Yeah.
Yes, stupid computer. Yes, we have a bit of that going on right now too.
Yes, and people. Me too.
Well, you know what? So I was on social media last night, and we were talking about this. Kid says it's a big topic now. The new videos that are coming out, and so Dan Mancuso gets in there and says, "Hey, listen, he believes that the crime is up because the amount of space that he needed for their police blotter, has basically tripled in size." And I said, "Well,
they reporting it? How can they be reporting it? They say they're not reporting it."
Right. Exactly. This was my logic. And so I asked him, I go, wait a minute. It seems to me that if you have more there, that means you've had more police involvement. They busted more people or whatever is what's going on. And he wasn't really clear on it, but it seemed as though he was saying that it was beyond ability to respond, BAR or something like that, that a lot of these things that they were putting in there. So I wonder, where is he getting this information from? Do we just get a sheet from the sheriff's department that says, well, here you go, this is what happened last night, and we couldn't respond to it, but here's the sheet.
Well, let me ask that question again. If they're reporting it to the newspaper, why the heck aren't they reporting it to the state? Because they said, well, we can't do that. Obviously, you can. And besides that, BAR may be the response that's needed on this, because many of you out there, people, they know what a BAR is.
I agree.
Browning automatic rifle.
Yes, it's a highly effective 30 caliber machine gun. Yes, I like it. I like that. That's good logic.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Don't be sneaking. Yes, don't be sneaking around on the roof of Taylor Sausage, or we'll let loose the bar on you.
Well, Mike says that he would be happy to volunteer to do some policing inside the sausage factory, and if they have sausages left by the next day, then they can reap.
I like sausage, but no. You know what? Listen, I've heard a few of these stories from people, and I really feel for these people because they're not lying about their their situation.
Yeah,
and but it's something that's happening right there in their little space of the county, but it doesn't necessarily apply to everywhere else in the county.
Right.
And that's the problem with this, applying one crime rate to the entire county. It isn't really. This is a localized problem. There's no doubt that population centers have a larger amount of crime than we do out in the sticks. And I'm out in the sticks. So, nothing ever happens out here. Listen, you could sit in a lawn chair out just to the side of my house for 5 years and nothing would happen. You would observe nothing. It would be very, very tranquil for you. But downtown Cave Junction, it's probably an entirely different thing. And we know because of the stats that 80% of the crime that happens in the county is taking place in Grants Pass. So clearly it's different there.
Now,
so,
here's the point at which I'm going to lose a little
better
respect
solutions
for the current sheriff. Is he says this thing about 80% of the crime happening in the city is a myth. Yeah, now we asked Bill Hunker, who went to the state records, what do you think about him saying that that's a myth? You know who he's talking about, Bill? He's talking about Bill Hunker. He's the one that brought it to us. We brought it to you. There's the source, and he got it directly from the state, who's taking all these things that are being reported to the newspaper, and apparently they are being reported to the state, and they're telling you about it. But even so, all across the country, as counterintuitive as this sounds, the crime is going down. But why is it not going down here? Because if it's going down here, you don't need to vote for a levy. So it must be going up.
And you know what? I'm having less and less as events occur. I am having less and less respect for the people who are in charge of this campaign on the other side. And sadly, that does include the police chief and the sheriff, because they're going along with this stuff, and that they are putting out these fake bogus numbers that they gave for Cave Junction about this is up 850%. It was totally contrived, and it was only meant to scare people. Listen, why don't you come back at us with the real stuff here? Why don't we deal with the actual situation? You got crime that's increasing and no one is paying attention to it in Cave Junction. Why don't we address that? Why don't we have some sort of a policing district or set up a police department down there? They have a very effective neighborhood watch program down there. Why don't we have some cooperation and coordination with the sheriff's department, with those guys and others, get more people involved in this, and let's run the miscreants out of town.
Well, and the thing is that city council meeting I went to in Cave Junction, the crowd of people are saying, we know who's doing this stuff. We know who's out there. We all know. If you'd ask any of us, we'll tell you. Here's the guy's name. Right. Here's where he lives. Here's where he does his business. Right. And the deputy is like, well, you don't understand his answer. You know who's doing it. Now, so why would the deputy be spending so much time in a school, and then they hand out tickets to people, speeding tickets or whatever, and then everybody's telling him, everybody knows, it's a small community, everybody knows who's doing the drug dealing and where to find them at any given time. And therefore, what can possibly be the explanation that somehow our law enforcement can't find these guys? They're telling them where to find them and when. I mean, they're doing everything but setting up an appointment.
Yes, and this may be oversimplifying things just a little bit. However, I wonder how, considering what I've witnessed from these people in the past few months, I wonder if there perhaps is not a desire to pursue things that
it's
would
dangerous.
make it seem as though they're doing their job, and so therefore people would feel a lesser need for more
Well,
policing.
that's worse than what I said.
I mean, yeah, I know it's tinfoil hat. I know it's tinfoil hat
But
stuff. But
if you
listen,
roll up on this guy, that everybody knows where he is and where to find him. I mean, the drug addicts need to know where to find him, and everybody knows a drug addict probably that lives in Cave. Somebody. If you roll up in a black and white, well, the guy's going to stop dealing drugs. Don't do that. What's the matter with you? Really? That's the only way that you're going to enforce law?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Undercover things are not allowed anymore? What the hell?
Yeah. See, it's not that there isn't solutions for all these problems. It's that I don't trust. I mean, these guys now, I trust them less than I did when we started this thing, because I've been watching what they do. It is sad. I've been watching what they do, and I don't trust anything that's coming out of their mouth now that there's a campaign going on. And the fact that, listen, the campaign should be happening outside of the sphere of the sheriff and the police chief. But in this particular case, it's not. And that is bothersome to me, because now when I talk to them, I don't know what I'm getting back. Am I getting campaign spin back from them, or am I actually getting what the real truth of things is? That's a tough
part of it too that people brought up at tonight's weekly business session once a month. It's in the evening. Is they said, what the heck are the police chief? The police chief was there in the room. Why is the police chief and the sheriff in a church video? A church video?
Yes, a church video.
For some reason, this thing
stopped. Yeah, you're still on everything's situation normal.
Okay.
Don't you may have something going on there, but don't worry about it. I still see you. And
I'm back. Okay, I don't know why I did that. Anyway, live show, and we're going to be live again on Tuesday night at 8:00. 8:00. Yes. Write that down. Okay, so why is it that? And so they're saying. So we've got these two law enforcement officials. They're in a church video. It's playing during a service at a church. Don't do that. And when you ask these guys now, well, I wasn't quite sure what you weren't quite sure.
No,
come on.
No, listen, everybody knows what everybody else is doing in this whole thing. And listen, if you watch some of the videos that they're in, it's all very coached. They all have, the tone of voice. They're playing the harp music. They're doing the whole thing. Everybody in this situation knows everything that's going on. There is nothing that these people don't know. They're not just, well, I just did that for a couple minutes and I don't know what's going on. These people are all in campaign mode. They're all in this together. They all are inside the loop. Everybody knows.
So you're giving every one of them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to intelligence.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty intelligent people, in fact. And I think that the manipulation that is going on here really is astounding. This is really, it's kind of a dirty campaign.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about manipulation. I brought that up when I spoke today at the weekly business session. And I said to Cheryl Walker, I said, you broke the law. Now, you know that this campaign is about trust, and yet you broke the law. Now, how the heck are we supposed to trust you when you break the law, Cheryl Walker? Now, you said that you were driving by the juvenile detention shelter, and it made you choke up. She did say choke up. And, instead of blubbering about it, do you realize that the fact, since this whole thing is about trust, everybody says so, Cuffs doesn't want your endorsement. Why? Because you're not trusted. And so as you drive by there and you're choking up, do you realize the fact that you are mistrusted, and now you show us the reason why, because you're deliberately breaking the law, that it's your fault that people are saying, you know what? I hate liars and cheaters so much, I will actually take the risk of putting myself a little bit more in danger because I don't want them to get 10% skimmed off the top. That's almost $1 million. I don't want them to get 10%. I don't want them to get 10 cents because they're liars and they're cheaters And the message that I have for liars and cheaters is you hate me because I expose you, and that's just a side benefit of my job.